Professor Manoj K. Sharma and Dr. Rajkumar. Her main research interest is to explore fusion and decay dynamics using different theoretical formalisms. Today she is going to present very interesting topic, that is optimum orientations for octuple deformed nuclei in fusion configurations. Now I would like to welcome Ms. Shivani Jain for the talk. So Shivani, it's yours.
Yeah, thank you, Neha. Thank you for the introduction, Neha. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes,
Hello?
you are. Go ahead, please.
Okay. I'm also grateful to all the organizers of Nuclear Theory Group for giving me an opportunity to present this webinar. And so I hope that all the attendees may have been gone through the abstract of this webinar. If not, still okay, because the talk is initiated with the very basic point to understand the topic and purpose of this talk. So here I start. The title of my presentation is Optimum Orientations for Octupole Deformed Nuclei in Fusion Configuration. So it is very much clear from the title that I am going to talk about octupole deformed nuclei and their corresponding optimum orientations in fusion configurations. Now, what are the optimum orientations will be discussed in my coming slides. So let's start with the nuclear shapes, and the shapes will be discussed in reference to these vertical and horizontal axes. The horizontal one represent the reflection and the vertical one represent the symmetry or axial axis of the shapes. So I start with the spherical shape. These shapes generally come in the doubly magic nuclei in which the neutron and proton shells are completely filled. And when the neutron and proton numbers get deviates from the magic number, then the spherical shape get deviated or deformed. So there are so many deformed nuclei which are discovered experimentally and theoretically, so and also to be discussed over here. So the first one is quadruple deformed nuclei. Now, how do these shapes take form? So we can see here that the compressed form of spherical give us one kind of quadruple deformed nuclei that is named as prolet, and the stretched form defines the another kind that is called as oblate. Now, these nuclei can also be differentiated in reference to the horizontal and vertical axis. You can see for the case of prolet that the symmetry axis comes along the major axis length of prolet. On the other hand, the symmetry axis comes along the minor axis length of oblate. And these shapes are also called as biaxial shapes. Now, if we introduce higher order deformed biaxial shapes, then hexadecapole deformed are considered. So one is named as belly in and other is as belly out shapes. Till now I talked about the biaxial shapes. In the next slide I am going to talk about the triaxial shape. In triaxial shapes, the octupole deformed nuclei.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I have a question. So, how
Yeah.
from the shapes that you just showed us,
Yeah.
how do you differentiate between a prolate and a hexadecupole deformed belly in shape? They are almost identical looking, except for the
Yeah.
curvature at the top, at the
Yeah.
poles. So how do you do that? Uh,
Actually, we have an expression of nuclear surface or nuclear radius, you can say, which I am going to show in my coming slide, where you can clearly see the difference between prolet and hexadecapole. And
so it's a
also,
mathematical difference. Okay, thank
exactly,
you.
exactly.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So for octupole deformed nuclei, you can see the picture. Now, if we differentiate between the biaxial and triaxial shapes, then in biaxial shapes, you can see that in biaxial shapes, you can see that these shapes have symmetry around both the horizontal and vertical axis, but in octupole nuclei, they have symmetry only around the vertical or axial axis, but they breaks their symmetry around reflection axis. Now, I have shown another picture of octupole deformed nuclei. This is when we introduce higher order hexadecapole deformation. All right. Now, mathematically, when we define the nuclear radius or nuclear surface, then such kind of expression is used, which is very well known and is expressed in terms of spherical harmonic function. Here, the first term is defined as the radius, which is equivalent to the radius of spherical nucleus, and the second term, that is beta lambda, that defines as deformation parameter, and lambda is the defines the shape we consider, and y lambda I is the spherical harmonic function. Here 0 is for that we are considering axially symmetric shapes. Now, in the expression of spherical harmonics, P lambda cos alpha I gives us the Legendre polynomials, and they have polynomials for all the shapes. For quadruple, that is for lambda equal to 2, for octuple, lambda equal to 3, and for hexadecapole. Here, I equal to 1, 2 stands for projectile and target respectively. Till now, what if we consider these nuclei in nuclear collision process? Because the nuclear collision process is considered as a useful tool to study the role or importance of different nuclear shapes. For different choice of target projectile combinations, when we consider only spherical nuclei, then the interaction distance between two nuclei remains same with the orientation of spherical nuclei, which is very obvious. But when we consider quadruple deformed nuclei either as projectile or target, or both the colliding partners, then the interaction distance keep changing with the orientation of deformed nuclei. So from these animations, it is very much clear that not only deformation, but also the orientation shows its impact on the interaction distance. So, and the effect of deformation and orientation will play their significant influence on the fusion barrier and cross sections, and how they will be discussed in the coming slides. Now, I want you to take a look on this schematic configuration of any two axially symmetric deformed oriented nuclei which are lying in the same plane. Now, I help you to understand the terms used here. So, Z is the collision axis between the colliding nuclei, and blue line represents the radius vector, which is calculated using the spherical harmonic function, as I already discussed in earlier slides. These are the symmetry axis. Capital R is the interaction distance between the centers of two deformed nuclei. The angles alpha is the angle between the radius vector and the symmetry axis. Theta angle is the angle between collision and symmetry axis. Now, the difference between alpha and theta will lead us to calculate the value of minimum separation distance. Okay, so in this configuration, the main important quantity is to determine the value of minimum separation distance. Now, how do we determine this value? Or before that, first it is expressed as S naught equal to capital R minus x1 minus x2. Now, what are x1 and x2? In this figure, I have shown here blue line, which is the radius vector, and yellow line is the projection of these radii on the collision axis. That's why x1 and x2 are expressed as a function of cosine functions with angles delta. So now how do we, and the perpendicular distance drawn here help us to calculate the value of S naught. Now, how do we proceed in this process? First, we apply the minimization condition by taking the first order differentiation of S naught with respect to alpha and equate it to 0. Then we get the value of angle delta, and then automatically we get a numerical value of S naught. So this is how we obtain the value of minimum separation distance. This configuration was discussed for spherical plus quadruple or quadruple plus quadruple pairs of colliding nuclei. Now, what if we consider octopole deformation in such kind of collision process, then you can see the schematic diagram over here, and which is very much similar as we already discussed for quadruple deformed nuclei. But the pear shape wants to say something that before considering me in an interaction, please do care of few points. Now, what are those? That unlike quadruple deformed nuclei, the center of mass of pear shapes is not situated at the center. That's why the configuration of pear shape at 0 and 180 degree are not same. So these are the points which we should take into account while we are considering octopole deformed nuclei. So till now I have discussed about the nuclear collision process while we are involving deformed nuclei up to beta 3. Now to understand their fusion dynamic, now to understand their significance in nuclear fusion dynamics, many authors have observed that deformation and orientation have their importance in the synthesis of super heavy elements. So many experimentalists have suggested two different kind of methods. The one is called as hot fusion process, or you can say 48 calcium induced reactions. And some of the experimentalists have also taken the neighborhood element of 48 calcium in these hot fusion reactions. In these reactions, highly deformed actinides are considered as target and hit by the beam of 48 calcium, and in result they give a compound nucleus with an excitation energy of about 35 to 41 MeV. Now, the another kind of fusion process is called as cold fusion process. In this process, they have considered 208 lead or 209 bismuth as target and incident by the isotopes of even atomic number, which varies from 20 to 38 and gives a compound nucleus whose excitation energy is very low, about 10 to 20 MeV. Now, how theoreticians have justified these two processes theoretically? Before going to that point, let's understand some other factors which are very important to understand the fusion dynamics. So in theoretical approach, the ion-ion interaction plays a very important role because the total potential as a function of separation distance, due to that it becomes sensitive towards the deformation and orientation degrees of freedom. In this potential, the two terms, which is barrier height and barrier position, they are very main factors because the projectile should acquired with the sufficient kinetic energy to tunnel through the barrier and get fused into the target for the formation of a compound nuclear system. Now this barrier height, which is a maximum height, is the combination of Coulomb and nuclear potentials. Here, the Coulomb potential for higher order deformed and oriented nuclei is expressed as this expression. Here, the first term is for spherical plus spherical pairs of colliding nuclei, and the second term is for spherical plus deformed or deformed plus deformed pairs of colliding nuclei.
Shivani.
Yeah.
I have a question. So this formula for Coulomb potential for small r greater than r, right?
Yes.
Is it not applicable for r less than r?
No, because here we are dealing with the surface. We are colliding this. We are dealing with the surface interactions. That's why r greater than touching point. This expression is taken here.
So you are not considering this minima value, right?
No. Yes, right.
So you are considering this height, like.
Yeah, exactly. Because the height comes after the touching point.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Now the second term, which is the nuclear potential. The nuclear potential, which is not very absolute, and so many researchers have worked hard and gave many models to describe the properties of colliding nuclei at low energy heavy ion heavy ion nuclear reactions. In our work, we have considered the proximity potential, which is based on the pocket formula and given by J. Blocky and the co-authors of this paper in 1977. It is a generalized formalism for deformed and oriented nuclei. According to this formula, this is a product of two terms in which the first is dependent on the shape and geometry of the colliding surfaces. And here it contains gamma, which is the nuclear surface tension, and is function of neutron, proton, and atomic mass numbers. And B is the surface diffuseness factor, has value of 0.99 Fermi. Now R bar is the radius of curvature. For more details, one can follow the reference given here. And the second expression of the proximity potential is called as universal function and depends only on the minimum separation distance and expressed by this relation.
Why we call a universal function?
Because it doesn't depend on the geometry or shape of the nuclei. It depends only on the numerical value of S naught.
S naught means
The minimum separation distance.
Between this
The colliding nuclei.
projectile.
Exactly.
And tell me the depth of this potential, this dn.
Actually, for calculating the depth, we have it depends on every reaction, that what kind of reaction we are considering. Then we need to plot, only then we can find out then what exactly value we get.
But every nuclei, I don't think, for example, every reaction has a large number of difference.
Yeah, right.
It's maybe minus 70 in some reaction case, minus 80.
Yeah, it can be.
In your case,
actually in our case it wasn't that much of
but have you
concern
plotted?
thing.
Have you done
Yeah, I done it. We
Okay.
have plotted
Okay, I
separately
will
the
see
nuclear
in few
and
slide maybe. Maybe in
okay.
few slide you have mentioned.
So I move on.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So I want you to recall the statement, the red one, that the interaction potential as a function of separation distance is sensitive towards the deformation and orientation degrees of freedom. That means the barrier height will also vary with respect to the orientation of deformed nuclei. So further, the authors of this reference have observed that when the two nuclei are at the smallest interaction distance, then they give the highest barrier height. That situation corresponds to the hot or compact configuration of colliding nuclei. On the other hand, when there is largest interaction distance, that leads to the lowest barrier height, and this situation corresponds to the cold or non-compact configuration. So, and such situation happens only at a very...
Can you
Yeah.
explain this? What is compact and
Yeah, I'm
non-compact?
going to compact in this slide, which I'm showing here. These situations of cold and hot configurations are obtained only at a very fixed or optimum orientation. Optimum orientation. So such is, what does that mean of that cold, elongated or non-compact, hot, compact? That means you can see here the compact configuration, that they are that the two nuclei when are in contact, the deformed nuclei in a vertical position, and there is large compact interaction between two nuclei. That's why it is called as compact configuration. And when there is less interaction between two nuclei, then that configuration is named as non-compact or cold configuration. So late professor.
So you mean if the deformed target has a vertical shape, then the nuclei has compact configuration. If it has a
Uh,
horizontal situation, then it will be a non-compact configuration, right?
yeah, till now, till you are considering quadruple deformed nuclei, then you can say that. But if you are following the definition of compact and non-compact configuration, which I have already told in my earlier slide, that for compact configuration, there should be smallest interaction distance, and for non-compact configuration, there should be largest interaction distance.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, okay. So late Professor Rajkumar Gupta and his collaborators in this paper have given this table of optimum orientations for both the cold and hot fusion configurations. On the basis and he has considered some different kind of combinations like prolet oblate prolet spherical and so on the basis of these combinations, he has stated that one can make the choice of optimum orientation on the basis of the sign of quadruple deformation. So, as for prolet, the sign of beta 2 is positive, and for oblate, the sign of deformation, quadruple deformation is negative. So, you can also see from this table that for prolet, cold configuration, if you see the optimum orientation for cold configuration, then it is 0 or 180 degree, and for hot it is 90 degree. But as you go for oblate, then it will get reversed, and now the theta optimum for cold configuration become 90, and for hot configuration it becomes 0 or 180 degree. So this is what they obtained the optimum orientation for quadruple deformed nuclei. Now again, what if we involve the pear shape or octuple deformed nuclei, and what changes will come in the optimum orientations? So before that, again, the pear shape wants to say something, that its existence is not possible without the quadruple deformed nuclei. So what does that mean? That means that while we are considering higher order deformations, then the lower order deformations are added automatically with their signs. So due to that, the plus minus for different signs of beta 3 and beta 2, we obtained four different kinds of pear shapes, which we have shown here in our recent paper. The first to represent the quadruple deformed nuclei, and the other rest four shapes are for octuple deformed nuclei. Now, the inclusion of beta 2 and beta 3 with their signs in spherical harmonic function influence the nuclear radii and minimum separation distance, and which in turn influence the Coulomb as well as nuclear potential, and hence we observe the effects on barrier height and position. Now, to get this analysis, what we require the value of beta 3 deformation. So for that, we referred this paper of P. Moller et al. And we have observed that there are around 700 octupole deformed nuclei which are belonging to Z equal to 8 to 118 region, and they most of them were lying above the N equal to Z line, but the data available was only for two shapes, that means for only for beta 3 minus. So to observe the effect of beta 3 plus, we just change the sign of beta 3 minus and observe their role as well. So now how did we arrange these nuclei in our work? We have categorized octupole nuclei in two categories. One is called as soft pear shape and other is called as rigid pear shape. In soft pear shape, the magnitude of beta 2 deformation is greater than the magnitude of beta 3. And in rigid pear shape, the magnitude of beta 3 is greater than or equal to the magnitude of beta 2. So these shapes are further considered in different combinations like spherical plus octupole, quadrupole plus octupole, and octupole plus octupole. On the basis of these combinations, we have obtained the optimum orientation of beta 3. So here I present you the table of optimum orientations for higher deformed nuclei up to beta 3. So before analyzing the values obtained for beta 3, we need to recall the optimum orientation for quadruple deformed nuclei. So you can see here that for prolet, the labeling is beta 2 minus and its optimum orientation for cold is 90 degree and for hot it's 0 or 180 degree. When we introduce beta 3 in beta 2 minus, then again the table is categorized in soft and rigid pear shape. First, for soft pear shape, you can see that there are some fluctuations in the optimum orientation for cold configuration. So these configurations are due to the magnitude, these fluctuations are due to the magnitude of beta 3. So that's why we have observed that when the difference between the magnitude of beta 2 and beta 3 is greater than equal to 0.2, that means the inclusion of beta 3 is very less in this case. So that's in that case the deviation is very less. As the magnitude increases, the deviation also increases. But in the case of hot configuration, the orientation remains same. But be careful about the sign of beta 3, because while considering beta 3 minus, then the orientation is 180 degree, and for beta 3 plus it's 0 degree, because as I have already told you that the configuration of a pear shape is not same at 0 and 180 degree. Now as we go to the rigid pear shape, then in the cold configuration, the deviation is straight off 90 degree. You can see from 90 to 0 degree and 180 degree. So, and for the hot configuration, there is no changes. Similarly, as we add the value of beta 3 in beta 2 plus, then now you can see the fluctuations uh, in the case of hot configurations instead of cold one. So this is what we obtained at the level of symmetry breaking shapes for the calculation of optimum orientations. So at the last, we have observed the effect of beta 3 in the calculation of fusion cross sections for the formation of super heavy element on the basis of which is formed from octopole based reactions, that is 48 calcium plus 220 radium, and the cross sections are calculated using the Wong formula, which is a function of center of mass energy, barrier height, barrier position, and barrier curvature. Now in this table you can see that we have calculated the cross sections for this reaction for its spherical configuration, for beta 2 for both the cold and hot configuration, and also for beta 3. So since the experimental data for this reaction was not available, so for the sake of comparison, we have compared our values with the experimental data of this reaction, which is forming the same compound nucleus, and observed that the calculated value for hot configuration is giving almost near to the available data. So this was the work we have done in our paper, and
Shivani,
yes,
can you go previous slide,
back,
this table?
yeah.
So this number you have given, this beta 2 value is 132.132. This is a deformation value or is it cross section? What is it?
Where
Beta 2.
in the
Yeah.
beta 2, yeah, it's deformation value. Beta 2 to
Deform.
that, yeah.
Yes. So this why why it is hot case is less comparison to cold. This beta 2.
Okay, okay. Because in one of my slides, as I told you, that in the cold case, there is largest interaction distance between two nuclei that leads to lower the barrier height. So when we get a lower barrier height, then there is larger fusion probability. So we get larger fusion cross sections. That's why the value of fusion cross sections in the case of cold configuration is larger than the hot one.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so we have considered here 48 calcium induced reaction. That's why the hot configuration is addressing the data.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I
Someone
think
asked me why wrong formula is valid.
Sorry?
Someone is asking why wrong formula is valid.
While Wong formula is valid,
Yes.
uh, actually on the basis of literature, it is said that above barrier it addressed very well, and below barrier in when we go to the lighter mass nuclei, then it shows fusion hindrance. So at that situation we consider L summed extended version of Wong formula, that is called as extended L summed Wong model, that helps to uh, address the data.
Okay, I think you have given answer to that question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In the hot configuration, do you think
Yeah.
the Coulomb barrier is also on the lower side?
uh, if I'm
Because
comparing yeah.
because
Yeah.
as it looks like, because in the hot configuration you have the kind of maximum distance which can be available to the nuclei colliding with each other. Is that
Yeah.
correct? So in that
uh,
case, I think because of the larger distance among the two center of the target and the target and the projectile,
yeah.
I think also the Coulomb barrier will be on the lower side.
Actually, if you are considering a single reaction and comparing the barrier height of hot configuration with the cold one, then obviously the barrier height for hot configuration will be higher than the cold one. So that's the theory.
Mm-hmm.
Am I answered your question?
Well, I'll think about it because I don't have much experience in this, so I don't think I completely understood it. But what I am trying to understand, that in the hot configuration, why does it have to be closer to the actual experiment? Because what I have understood from your presentation is
Yeah.
that in some way, if you can control the spinning orientation of the target and the projectile, only then you can project your result in these two extreme conditions. But in
Yes.
an actual experiment, I don't think either of these two extreme conditions will be executed. It will be some kind of average between these two conditions. Because
No.
if you no.
Yeah, I'm saying that when we are considering some reaction and we find out the excitation and energy of it, then when these 48 calcium induced reaction give us the excitation in the range of 35 to 40. So in this situation, you need for the formation of excitation energy with so much high energy, there will be formation of a larger barrier height. So for that, hot configuration is addressing the data. That's why the situation is justifying the data.
Shivani,
Yeah.
Okay.
Professor Suresh is asking something. So he
Yeah.
wrote cross-section influenced by angular momentum and
Hanji.
low excitation energy of projectile and
Mm-hmm.
target. So
Mm-hmm.
how you are taking these in your model?
Actually, I have considered only Wong formula. So this formula is expressed by summing up all the L values up to infinity. If you follow the CY Wong this reference, then you can see here that it is adding all the L values up to infinity, and in results we get this expression.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. And how do you, what value you are choosing for this frequency? This omega b is the frequency, right?
H cut omega.
H cut omega b, yeah.
Yeah. It's about range for about 4, not exactly, but about 4 MeV, 3 MeV. In this range they come.
No, I am asking for this omega b.
Omega B, H cut omega B. We are calculating H cut omega B. That is barrier curvature.
Oh,
Not
okay,
only
okay.
omega B. Yeah, but H cut omega B.
Mhm. So do you know this M3Y interaction?
Sorry?
Do you know M3Y interaction?
No.
Michigan Ikawa interaction. Michigan
Yeah,
Ikawa.
Yukawa interaction. I heard of that.
Michigan
Yes.
Ikawa 3 interaction.
Yes, yes.
So earlier, I think Professor Veer Vikram has done
Yeah.
this fusion cross-section using M3Y interactions.
Mm-hmm.
So I do not know how much difference between your proximity potential and M3Y interaction, because as far I know, this M3Y interaction potential may be applicable for I think because in Veer Vikram paper, as far I know, he has done same type of calculation using wrong formula, but in the interaction case, he has taken this M3Y interaction. But in your case, you are taking this proximity potential.
Actually, I want to add something that for the calculation of this optimum orientation, we have also tried for SCUM forces as well to observe that these values are independent of the choice of potential or not. So that is, we obtained the same values by including that interaction also.
So you are talking it is independent of the interaction, whether we are
Choice
taking.
of,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Okay. So mostly it depends on the Coulomb part, right? Because in Coulomb case you have added some orientation, some expression. You have given some value. If you go
No,
previous slide, yeah.
uh,
You have mentioned the total potential is equal to the VC plus VN, right?
VN, yes.
So VC is equal to something. If you go back to the
Uh,
slide.
yeah.
Yeah, here.
Yes.
And go to the expression for VC. VCF.
This.
Yeah. So in
Oh, sorry.
okay, this VC. Okay. So mostly your calculation is depend on VC, not on the VN.
No. I doesn't mean that independent. The table is independent. Doesn't mean that there is no role of VN. I mean that the orientation, the value of orientation I get remains same, which whichever interaction potential, nuclear potential I am considering here. So that what I mean. It doesn't mean that only VC is playing role here.
Okay. So
Yeah.
actually nowadays the many relativistic mean field model has calculated the value of beta 30 and beta just like you have done from this VC.
Yeah.
Even because in that case you can replace your VN and VC from that model.
Yeah, that can be another
But
step. This
you are
is just
talking
an
about this
initiation.
VN for SCUM case. As far I know, you are taking this density from the SCUM model and you have folded those density
No,
in
no,
your.
density, two
Yeah.
Fermi model.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you are calculating VN after folding this. You are taking the density of projectile and transit. Then
exactly.
you have calculated the value of VN.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Okay. Should I
But
go
but in
to?
that case, you are taking a spherical density, not for deformed density, right? But this is not working if you are taking a spherical density. ISCOM
Uh,
case, but because in ISCOM case, I think you are not taking deformed density. You are taking spherical density.
no,
R and
I
rho R.
I can discuss in my next discussion maybe that, because there is some involvement of deformation through radius, because density is expressed in terms of two Fermi model, and that depends on the radius terms, and that radius is again a function of spherical harmonic function. That's why that is dependent on deformation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Should I go to the summary slide?
Yeah. Conclude.
So here I summarize my talk. So the appropriate choice of optimum orientations for higher order deformation is as important as the quadruple deformation. So while we are considering deformation up to beta 3, then the choice of optimum orientations for both the hot and cold configurations are sensitive towards the sign as well as the magnitude of beta 3. And as we observed from the table of the optimum orientation for octopole, that the soft pair shape with small value of beta 3 show a maximum deviation of about 20 degree, and the rigid pair shape with strong beta 3 show deviation of 90 degree, and the result obtained for the synthesis of super heavy elements from the octopole based reaction can be verified in the future experiments. Now let's come to the conclusion part. So the inclusion of soft or rigid pair shapes, either as projectile or target or both the colliding partners, that will show a significant impact on the fusion barrier, especially at the hot and cold optimum orientations. So the choice of optimum orientations for these configurations is very much essential to investigate more facts in the nuclear fusion dynamics, and also in the subsequent decay mechanisms of heavy or super heavy nuclei. So here I express my heartiest gratitude to late Professor Rajkumar Gupta, Emeritus Professor of Punjab University, Chandigarh. I'm also thankful to my supervisors, Professor Manoj Kumar Sharma, Dr. Rajkumar, and my seniors and colleagues, and also thankful to all the listeners for keeping patience. Thank you. Any questions, please?
Thank you so much, Shivani, for this wonderful talk.
Thank you.
Anybody has any question? Any question?
Yeah, I don't have a particular question, but I just want to ask you, what is your future outlook for this work?
Actually, as we till now, what we observed for in literature for quadruple deformed nuclei, that with the inclusion of quadruple deformation, they lower the barrier, and due to that, we get larger possibility of fusion. So in this context, we are trying to explore the effect of beta 3 deformation, that against beta 2, that how much significant role we can observe in context of beta 3. So that is the purpose for different kind of reactions.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And what about higher order deformation?
Well, actually, as I
Means
told in
higher
my
than
one,
octopole.
yeah, got that. In one of my slides, as I told that while we are considering different signs of beta 3 and beta 2, then we get four different shapes. So that becomes, a big table of optimum orientation for octopole. As we go to the beta 4, then again it will become very much complex to for by dealing with the different signs of beta 4, beta 3, and beta 2. So yeah, so much work is required for that.
I think
Yeah.
Dr. Bhuiya has some questions, so
Yeah.
he may ask.
Okay, Shivani, it's a nice talk.
Thank
So
you,
you
sir.
can hear me, right?
Sorry, sir.
You can hear me, right?
Hi, yes, sir. I'm hearing you.
Okay. So I have some fundamental questions, very
Okay.
basic. For example, you are dealing with some of the exotic nuclei corresponding to higher atomic number. So there is a
Okay.
large particle in like particularly for the atomic number Z value.
Mhm.
So, Coulomb interaction, have you taken any extends part of the Coulomb interaction, or you have only the direct part of the Coulomb interaction when you are calculating the total interaction potential for the two nuclei?
In case of scum forces, sir?
Yeah, any because in your calculation, yeah,
Sorry?
in your calculation.
In my calculation, you are talking about scum forces, right?
No, I am talking about because when you are going for calculating the nuclear interaction potential or nucleus interaction potential, right? For example,
Yes. Yes, sir.
because it will be come in your BT, that is the
Yes.
total potential sum of the
Mm-hmm.
nuclear plus the Coulomb terms, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, in the Coulomb terms, do you have only the direct term or there is the extended term also?
Actually, I can tell only on the basis of literature which I have read that Coulomb, the direct and exchange terms are considered when we are taking the microscopic calculations, I guess, because when it is written in terms of density, then you can write these direct and indirect, direct and exchange terms. But in our case, there is no, we are not dealing with such situations. Am I justifying with your
Okay, how you deal your Coulomb interaction?
sir? It's just we just put the values of let me come to that slide.
Okay, and put the atomic number, the squares like that, right?
Exactly, sir. Yes.
Okay, okay, then I get it.
Oh
Okay,
yes.
okay,
Yeah.
fine. Okay, I got it. So, another one more question corresponding to this, because for example, how you justified your octopole deformation means what is the parameter for your octopole deformation?
So in my one slide, I have shown a paper of P. Moller. I show you. Yeah, this one. In this paper, you will get the deformations
Yes,
ground state values.
yes, I know that this is the modified data table, and here
Exactly,
it's
sir.
around 72 or 77 nuclei, both showing the octopole deformation. So you take the deformation value from here.
So yes, I have considered all the available data around. There were around 700 octopole deformed nuclei which are given in this paper. So on the basis of those data, I have observed the optimum table I have shown in this webinar.
So okay, the third question I have. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
that's okay, sir. That's okay.
So in your L sum or own formula, and
Yes.
normally in your own formula, what is the
Yeah.
basic difference that L sum all formula is considered, and or I just want to know the limitation of L sum and
Yeah.
own.
Okay, that's okay, sir. Uh, in Wong formula, as I said already, that formula is the summation of all the
Yes,
L values.
yes,
So okay, so
yes.
if I get some value from this formula, let's say it is enhanced at subbarrier region, but while I am considering L sum formula, then I can fix the value of L angular momentum. Okay, so that I can minimize the cross section and approach to the experimental data or wherever the required situation is.
Okay, how do you fix the L values for
So there is in literature there is a sharp cutoff model. I hope you know that sharp cutoff model. I can give you a reference of that after
okay,
this
okay.
webinar.
Just tell
So
me little
yeah,
short.
using that formula, we get the values of L values for above barrier energies, and for low barrier energy, we extend that extend the values of L values. On the basis of that, we obtain the L values.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is your nuclear potential
Okay.
contain any three body type interaction?
Okay. Actually, sir, till now I didn't work on that part for three body interaction. Only we just dealing with the two body interaction. So I
Okay.
have no experience with the three body.
Okay. Another,
Yeah.
there is a tensor term in your interaction, the Vn what you calculated.
Sorry, sir.
Tensor term. Tensor.
Tensor sum. So
Yes.
in the proximity potential, there is no tensor term is involved. But while I am considering skirm interaction,
Yes.
then the term which is expressed as the Hamiltonian term, you can. So there is already an individual term specified for tensor coupling term. So from
Okay.
there we can see the relation.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So anyone else have any question? So should we wind up the presentation? Okay, so thank you so much, Shivani, for this wonderful talk.
Thank you, Dr. Neha.
Okay, so should we wind up?
Neha, you can read the chat box. Professor Suresh is asking some question in general to the organizers.
Yes. Question. He's asking that for new or better video conference platform like other Zoom. Is he asking about, I think, Zoom or something else? Gmeet.
Yeah, Zoom is having 40 minutes of free time. After that, we need to pay. But I think GeoMeet can replace Zoom meetings very
Yeah.
soon in future.
But I think in the like